Reserve. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Yeah, absolutely.
I've gotten Facebook posts, I've gotten phone calls in our office encouraging just that. For the President to tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserves to help lessen the price at the pump. But let me just tell America that it was during the 1970s oil embargo that I remember as a small child that Congress created this huge 727 million barrel reserve that was intended for national security emergencies. And before President Obama tapped the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, back in the June of 2011, the reserve had previously only been tapped once for war, the other to combat a natural disaster, and the third time, quite similarly, for political opportunism. And the examples are this. President Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, the first Bush, used the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserves, during Operation Desert Storm because we were going to war over there, and he was afraid that that would disrupt Middle Eastern supplies. And so he tapped those reserves just to make sure Americans didn't suffer because of our actions over there in the Operation Desert Storm. And then in 2005 we had down along the Gulf Coast, which is a tremendous energy production area in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. We had a little thing called Hurricane Katrina that came through and really disrupted supplies in the Gulf states and did a lot of damage there. And President George W. Bush opened up the strategic reserves to lessen the price at the pump for Americans because we knew there was going to be some supply disruptions. So we had a natural disaster and we had a war. But then, in 2000, just another example, President Clinton opened up the supply under the Strategic Petroleum Reserve right before a campaign, right before the Bush-Gore campaign. There wasn't any natural disaster. There wasn't a hurricane bearing down on us. We're not going to war. He was trying to stabilize the market to help him in a political game. And then we see President Obama in June of 2011 do the same thing. Instead of focusing on American jobs and American energy production and a long-term energy policy, they're playing games with tapping the strategic reserves, which have an intended purpose. And that intended purpose is not to bring the price down at the pump. It's to stabilize the American economy in case of war or in case of a natural disaster. Now, we've got these reserves sitting there, and we've got a lot of Middle Eastern unrest with what's going on in Iran, and Iran cutting England and Germany, or England and France, one of the European countries, off from any oil. It's actually a reverse embargo where Iran's not going to ship oil to some friendly countries in Europe. And so we're seeing this volatility due to the unrest in Iran. Shouldn't we as America keep that oil in reserve just in case there's a problem over there? Maybe, who knows, maybe there's further disruptions, a Strait of Hormuz issue. Strategic reserves are there for a stated purpose, not for political games.
And I would just make the point that if this administration acknowledges that by tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, they can increase supplies and therefore have an impact on price, isn't it obvious what we ought to be doing as the policy of this country? If supply
That's
is
too
the
much
answer,
common sense, gentlemen from Colorado.
If supply is the answer, tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, we should increase domestic production. We should increase opportunities in the western United States, on our outer continental shelf. We should utilize the energy that our neighbors to the north are willing to help us out with through the Keystone XL pipeline. Because if the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is indeed about supply, a political fix to a supply problem,
A Band-Aid, so to speak.
a Band-Aid, why isn't this administration willing to actually do the right thing, do what's necessary to keep our economy afloat, to keep it from running on fumes, and make sure that we can produce that energy in our own backyard? Increase our opportunities to produce domestic energy.
The gentleman from Colorado has been a stalwart and a leader in energy, American energy independence, as a leader of the House Energy Action Team. We call it HEAT, H-E-A-T. And let me just tell America, if you want to find out some of these details, some of the facts that we've laid out for you in black and white, you can go to the website for House Energy Action Team under the House GOP website and find this data out. We're putting it out there for you. We're not shying away from it. We're providing this information for you Americans to make informed decisions and understand that these energy bills we've passed through the House, they have merit. And they would have results if we could get the Senate to take them up. And let's have a true, comprehensive energy policy for this country that focuses on American energy independence, that does things right, for you Americans to lessen the price that you're paying at the pump, to lessen the price that you're paying on your electricity bill every month. House Energy Action Team is focused on this. The gentleman from Colorado is a leader on that. Our caucus and our conference is a leader on that. And with that, I'll yield back.
Well, I thank the gentleman from South Carolina for his leadership and for this is the third time that we've done that this year already, come down and talk as a group about what